Good choice. Not a lot of Katakis out there.
Zero.
Not a lot of
I didn't
hate
see
at all.
anything that killed artifacts all day, really. Actually, I don't think I had one disenchant played against to actually kill my artifacts.
All right, well, looks like our match is starting. It's been great talking with you, Mike. We'll see you in top 8. Good luck. Congratulations on making it 2 days in a row.
Thank you so much.
You could be the future of...
Gerard. I hope we had a crazy match for us, so I hope he gets in.
all right, Mike wishes a little luck to Gerard here before he leaves. So
Gerard's one loss was actually to Mike.
Wow.
So.
All right. Yeah, and he got paired down, no less.
Yeah, Gerard got paired down to play against Mike, and Mike took him out.
So for those of you just joining us, this is round 9 of the Star City Games Open Series here in Edison, New Jersey, legacy portion, and this is it. After this, we'll be cut into the top 8. So these players are both playing for top 8. On the right of your screen, we'll see Mark Tocco. Mark Tocco is playing, or Tocco potentially, I'm sorry if I'm messing that name up. He's playing a Storm combo deck. This is very similar to the deck we saw earlier in the tournament. It's got Ad Nauseam, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Brainstorm, Thoughtseize, a main deck, which I suppose is maybe a slight different from what some people might do. But I think, Duress and Thoughtseize main deck are kind of normal. The kid we saw playing earlier had Silence in his deck, but for the most part, this seems to be a pretty standard-ish kind of list. You have an idea of what's going on at least. As far as the main deck goes. The sideboard has some interesting choices. We'll get to those in a moment. On the other side of the table, on your left side, Gerard Fabiano.
G-Fabs himself.
Already had one feature match today. Played a really interesting white-blue-black Cobblade deck yesterday. Missed top 8 despite...
A lot of pros thought that was like the format-breaking deck for yesterday.
Yeah.
And he still managed to pull it out.
Yeah, Jerry Thompson told us today that he felt like Gerard had the best deck. Better than the red deck he was playing, the red Cobblade deck. So, I mean, Gerard's obviously already made waves in this tournament, but this time he can make waves in the form of a top 8 with his...
Yeah, and the thing about Gerard is Gerard's playing hymns, and that's not something you want to be on the other end of.
That is something Gerard does well. He's playing Team America, full of...
Gerard is the master of the Hymn to Turok.
Tombstalker, Tarmogoyf, Hymn to Turak, Brainstorm, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Engineered Explosives, Sylvan Library, Daze, Force of Will, Go for the Throat, Stifle, and Ponder all comprise Gerard's main deck. And it looks like Gerard has a turn 2 Tarmogoyf off of 2 dual lands versus Mark's Islands. Now, how do we feel Gerard's matchup here is against the Storm deck? Him seems like an awesome card in this matchup.
Oh, yeah. Him could just be backbreaking.
Absolutely. You cast a well-timed Him, and that could be it.
Especially if Mark Tocco mulligans at all. Ooh, it's so scary to mulligan against a deck that's packing hymns.
Absolutely. In the meantime, of course, Mark is, I'm sure, is aware of what he's up against as well. I'm sure he'll be hiding cards with Preordain and Ponders, trying to sequence things correctly. So Thoughtseize here reveals Hymn to Turak, Brainstorm, Ponder, and Explosives. I feel like Mark will probably likely take the Hymn.
Yeah, I think the Hymn is almost certainly what Mark's taking here.
And looking at Mark's hand, it looks like Cabal Ritual, maybe a Chromox, a couple lands. Mark deliberating which card to pick here. It's interesting because every Storm deck, there are so many cards that you have to play with. You have to play with your filtering cards. You have to play with Brainstorm, Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Infernal Tutor. These are all crucial cards. But what you fill the last couple slots with are what make the difference. And Mark's decided to play 3 Thoughtseize, 4 Duress here. And unlike some players who have played less, he has a full 4 Preordains to...
He hasn't cut the Ill-Gotten Gains combo from main at all.
Still Ill-Gotten Gains. Mark Preordains into 2 Duresses there, and it looks like he puts them both on the bottom of the library. Or no, maybe he put one back on top and one on the bottom. And Gerard draws. Looks like another Tarmogoyf. And here comes Brainstorm for Gerard. Dropping instant into the graveyard. Drew a Stifle. Oh my, Gerard with his main deck Stifles could actually be okay against this Storm deck.
Yeah, they might do some damage.
Usually...
Tendrils may? Go ahead.
Yeah, usually when you're going off with Tendrils, maybe you can play around it, especially with Ad Nauseam. You can get a lot of Storm built up, and maybe...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do that, though, when Gerard's going to start attacking for a lot of damage very quickly.
Right, exactly. So Mark's going to be put into a corner, and the way out, if your Tendrils get stifled, is you have to go on an Ill-Gotten Gains plan, and if Mark doesn't have an Infernal Tutor or another way to find the ill-gotten gains, then you just stifle the Tendrils of Agony. Storm Trigger drains him for 2 life, which isn't going to be enough. And that stifle could go a long way. Gerard drops another Tarmogoyf, quickly putting a clock on the Storm deck here. And it's interesting. Gerard said earlier he loves being interactive in his games, and Mark's deck is about as uninteractive as he wants to get. Yeah. So we have interactive versus uninteractive. We'll see how this goes. Looks like Ponder and Lion's Eye Diamond for Mark here. Mark looks at the Ponder.
May be great.
Yeah, that Stifle could potentially be huge for Gerard Fabiano. I mean, if played correctly. Now, obviously, Mark's got a Duress in his hand. He could strip that Stifle away, but even then, it still makes a target. All right, Ponder for Mark here. And Mark chooses to shuffle with that Ponder. Going for a mystery card. Crazy the wide breadth of decks we've seen in this format. We've seen aggressive decks like Goblins. We've seen these combo decks like Storm. We've seen these almost mid-rangey decks like Team America, and then some control decks like the Enlightened Tutor decks. There's just so many different things you can play, and the fact that they're all reasonable, viable decks is just unbelievable. Gerard gives Mark one of his trademark toothpicks.
Classic GFabs.
All right, looks like Mark. Looks like Mark draws a Lotus Petal there. And Mark passes back to Gerard. Those 2 Tarmogoyfs are going to be getting in for some damage this turn. Was that another Stifle Gerard drew? I couldn't quite make it out.
I think it may have been. No, it's Ponder. One mana blue spells. Yeah, Gerard can just, drop a Tombstalker, leave a blue open, and say, okay, I'm going to kill you next turn. Try to kill me this turn through a Stifle. That's your only shot. But I mean, Mark's deck is certainly capable of doing that. If he had Osims, he can find a Duress and...
And, man, those Tarmogoyfs are really hitting hard. Let's see, here comes a Tombstalker. Gerard pitches his graveyard, which does potentially change the size of that Tarmogoyf. I think he loses instant, at least.
Has Mark played a Brainstorm yet?
I don't think so either. I see a lot of Preordains and Ponders.
Okay.
But even then, that still threatens lethal.
Yeah.
So I think Mark is, this guy's back against the wall. He thinks he has to go off now, but I don't think he has the tools to go off. All right, Duress. So it looks like he might just be fishing for information here. Wait, is that a Tendrils in his hand? He might just have to go with small Tendrils and try and buy a turn, but I don't know what that's really going to accomplish.
Ooh, and Gerard has a Sylvan Library.
All right, and he throws nice. 2 Chromoxes down, and that's game 1. So Gerard Fabiano takes the first game against Mark Tocco. So going to their sideboards, let's see what a Hate defense has for the Storm decks. Consuming Vapors, Ghastly Demise, no. Smother, no. Phyrexian Revoker, no. Krosan Grip, probably not. I don't think that's going to do enough. You could theoretically grip a Lion's Eye Diamond, but I don't think it's really going to accomplish a lot.
So, I mean, he definitely wants to Dispel, right?
Yeah, so the Dispel is taken for sure, and the Spell Pierce is bringing in for sure. Those are the 2 spells. Almost assuredly. If he has too many cards to take out, Relic of Progenitus could potentially come in just to cycle, but I don't really see that happening. Gerard has 2 Go for the Throats that are going to come out.
Yeah, so those are definitely coming out, and those can be replaced by the Dispel and the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, and I think that might be the only change he wants to make.
He might want to cut 2 explosives for 2 Krosan Grips.
Yeah, the thing
Krosan Grip can hit an LED if his opponent, for some reason, passes the one in play.
It can.
A non-issue, or when his opponent, has an LED in play and, has something else in the stack.
So can explosives, though, right? Just explosives for 0?
Yeah, but if you don't have the split second, then Oh, split second doesn't even stop.
Yeah, it doesn't
lines.
change anything.
It's mana ability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so it's actually, yeah.
And that way you can...
EE's just better, I guess.
Yeah, and that way you can kill a Chromox if Marcus like an early Chromox that's accelerating his draws. On Mark's side, let's see, his sideboard is 3 Reverent Silence, 3 Xantid Swarm, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Echoing Truth, a Tropical Island so he can cast his green spells, and 4 Dark Confidant. I think he's going to bring the Confidant here to make sure his hand stays prime. Probably the matchup he wants it for, right?
I would imagine this is the matchup where he wants the Confidants.
Okay, this is interesting.
Now,
So Lion's Eye Diamond, the way it's worded, it says activate this ability only anytime you can cast an instant. So that means that you could not do it in response to a split second spell?
Oh, wow.
I remember there was a large discussion about this at one point, about this interaction. And because of the way Lion's Eye Diamond is worded, this small thing, I looked it up, and it does say you can activate the ability only anytime you could cast an instant. You cannot cast an instant with a split second spell on the stack.
Yes.
Double check with a shot off of the sidelines. Lion's Eye Diamond and split second. Lion's Eye Diamond reads. Okay, okay, so you can use it in response, even though it says activate this ability only anytime you can cast an instant. That's okay?
It's weird wording, but it's the wording.
I'm sure this has come up for a lot of you people out in Twitter land before. If you know the answer, just tweet it at us, and we'd be happy to. I'm sure I could actually just Google this, but it's way more fun to make you guys do it for me. All right, so Gerard, or sorry, not Gerard, Rashad says that you cannot use Lion's Eye Diamond. I'm double checking. I did a quick Google search, and it looks as though you can use Lion's Eye Diamond in response. Let's see, the important rule here is 702.5a. Split Second is a stack ability that functions only while the spell Split Second is on the stack. And the important part here, Split Second means as long as the spell is on the stack, players can't cast other spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. And so even though it's acting as though an instant, it's still a mana ability which can be played. So, yes, you can activate Lion's Eye Diamond in response. I remember there was a large discussion about this a while back. I think it came up in the top 8 of a Star City Open, actually. And so you can activate that in response. So, yeah, I think he just brings in those, or he keeps in the engineer explosives there.
It seems reasonable.
Yeah. So
maybe he even brings in the 2 Revokers and just names Lion's Eye Diamond. But,
Sure.
right? Like, that's not unreasonable.
No, absolutely not.
There's no way to kill it. That's actually really good.
Yeah, and it's just a 2-1.
Yeah, it's a beater. Like, it's not like his opponent plays anything that can block.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Confidants. You want to trade your Confidant?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that's way better than the EE, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think those Revokers are a good call. We'll see if Gerard brings those in. Mark's almost certainly bringing in the 4 Confidants, and then I'm unsure as if he's going to bring in any of his Xantid Swarms, Chain of Vapors, or Echoing Truths. It depends on what he expects. If he expects to have to worry about a lot of counter magic, Xantid Swarm might be the way to go. But if he's expecting permanent disruption, it's possible Chain or Echoing Truth might be the way to go. He might mix it up a little bit. It's unclear on exactly what's going to happen here. So Mark lays out 7 cards. And the players look over their initial hands. Gerard, toothpick at the ready, looks like they both keep. And Mark is off to the races with what I can only assume is a fetch land. And he finds Tropical Island.
Now, something interesting that Mark did in the last game, Mark had only played, really, some discard spells. He'd played a lot of Ponders and, Preordains and discard spells, but he gave Gerard no idea that he was a Storm deck. And then on the last turn, he just revealed a Dark Ritual and 2 Chromox to Gerard. And he didn't have to do that. And that tells Gerard, I'm Storm.
Well, when I saw that, I kind of got the picture that maybe Gerard already knew somehow. I don't know if they players might know each other, but yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Like, okay, well maybe he could run a bluff here, but also the duress on the stifle kind of gave it away a little bit too. I feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if Gerard didn't know, maybe Mark might have made a
Well,
mistake.
stifle's the only thing he could have duressed there, right?
What was the other card he revealed?
Sylvan Library, which is somewhat irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to try to run a bluff, I think you would take the library. But if Mark thinks that Gerard already knows what's going on, also like Gerard said earlier, he doesn't play a ton of Legacy. So yeah, he might just not have been able to identify it as a Storm deck where a more seasoned Legacy player might have been able to. But regardless, so it looks like Mark opted for the Xanthid Swarm plan here. And for those of you who don't know what Xanthid Swarm does, it's a 1 green for a 0/1. It's from Scourge, and it's flying. And it says when it attacks, basically when it attacks, your opponent can't cast spells for the rest of the turn. So it protects your combo. You can't be counterspelled, essentially silencing them on every single opportunity. Now, Gerard said earlier in the booth that he had grown wary of combo decks boarding out his removal against them because he felt like they would bring in, most combo decks have a creature plan in the sideboard, and Mark has at least Xanthid Swarms and probably Dark Confidants here. So I'm wondering if Gerard actually left some of his Go for the Throats in, which might actually turn out to be relevant, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I mean, he may do that. Gerard's the type of guy who likes to keep in some removal spells to fight against combo decks. He's like, everybody just brings in Confidant. He actually said that to me earlier today. He's like, I don't take it by removal ever.
Let's see. And let's see. Mark brainstorms. It's interesting, we saw all these Jace brainstorms on the first day, and today we're seeing a lot of the actual brainstorm.
Yeah.
So a lot of drawing 3 and putting 2 cards back.
We've still seen a fair amount of Jace brainstorming. It's not just for the newer formats. Jace brainstorming is good, even in Vintage nowadays. What's going on?
Oh, hey, we're back.
Hey,
There's a judge call.
All right.
Hey, all right. I'm Gerard Fabiano here with Mark Tocco.
Whoa, Mark Tocco. That's what I am.
Seriously? He's gonna go back and watch this. He's gonna go back and watch this coverage.
Oh. What?
Hey Jake, how's it going?
How are you?
Doing pretty well.
Good to see you.
So yeah, it looks like there's a judge call, so the camera's going to go on us for just a second here while they resolve whatever's going on.
Yeah, I really like Mark's deck choice. I've always been a combo player, and whenever I think about playing in Legacy tournaments, the deck I'm almost always thinking about playing is Storm. And I think it's a very strong deck. It's probably more powerful than anything else, and it can win games that nothing else can. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to pilot correctly, but if you can figure out and play it enough and goldfish it enough and play against other decks, which is the important part, a lot of people don't get past the goldfishing stage to the point where they have to learn how to deal with all the actual disruption in Legacy. If you can get to that point, the deck is just extraordinarily powerful, and Mark's put up a great performance with it today. He finds himself down a game against Gerard Fabiano, not the position he wanted to be in.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty rough.
I'm sure he's found himself in harder positions before and managed to back out of them. So it's a deck to watch. It'd be interesting to see a Storm deck in the top 8. And okay, it looks like we're back to the board here. Judge call has been resolved.
We're fighting.
Swamp searched out by Polluted Delta. And we'll see what Mark has to do here.
I've always thought of Xanthid Swarm as an interesting sideboard choice.
Relax last week, who made top 8 with an ad nauseam deck, chose to not play Xanthid Swarm anywhere in his 75. He opted for actually a significantly different deck. He had Grim Tutors in the main deck, which, to be fair, are pretty expensive and hard to find. But he had a very different sideboard too. So Mark's playing a slightly different list than Ari did.
It's not too easy to find Grim Tutors.
Yeah. There was a very small window of time to buy Grim Tutors, and when they were cheap after the announcement was made. But now, I mean, they are expensive, but they're very powerful for what they do. A tutor like that is hard to come by. So Xanthid Swarm comes in, Gerard looks over to look at that Xanthid Swarm. And Infernal Tutor for Mark Tocco. Gerard is like, what does this card do when you cast it normally? Or just maybe what does the card do in general? I don't know. But, alright, so he
shows what the ball ritual.
reveals the Cabal Ritual. And for those who actually don't know what Infernal Tutor does, when you actually have cards in your hand, you reveal a card from your hand and get a second copy of it.
Yeah.
So it helps fuel your combo, actually, by making sure you can double up on cards. So Mark got has access to 2 Cabal Rituals now.
I actually play Infernal Tutor in my Legacy Pyromancer Ascension deck.
Oh, there you go.
So
with that, in that deck, do you use Manamorphose to combo, or
yeah, you have Metamorphose.
yeah, then you loop it infinite times with Regrowth. Is that the plan? Yep. All kinds of cool combo decks you can play in Legacy, all the way from High Tide to Storm to Pyromancer's Ascension, a deck which I know Jerry Thompson loves.
Yeah.
And Mike Flores has shown love for it. You've shown love for it. A lot of players love the 2-mana red enchantment. Gerard holding a Force of Will there, I believe. And another blue card. Passes back. Thoughtseize for Mark here.
Ooh, that Thoughtseize is going to be really good here.
Thoughtseize is going to be good, although the Xanthid Swarm is holding off that Force of Will from doing too much.
Just having the Thoughtseize, though, it just gives him the information he needs to and know exactly how he needs to pilot his combo turn.
Wow, look at Gerard's hand. Double Force Stifle. Mark takes the Stifle. And it looks like he's going for it. Yep. So that's 1 spell this turn. He has 3 black mana in his mana pool.
It's actually
Cabal Ritual.
4 spells, right? 3 spells?
Oh, I didn't see the Lotus Petal come down there.
Yeah, so 4 spells now.
4 spells.
5 spells.
5 spells. So that's 3, 4, 5 black mana. Does not have threshold for those Cabal Rituals. Or maybe he does. I can't quite see. I thought there's only a couple cards in his graveyard, but it's being obscured a little bit.
Yeah, they're for 5.
Yeah. Okay, so we just got the report that his graveyard is in fact full. So those Cabal Rituals are huge. And here comes Infernal Tutor.
And there's no cards left in hand?
No cards left. So you
get Gerard can't force. He is
right. Gerard can't force. He is dealing with a Xanthid Swarm right now. So it's very likely. Does he get ill-gotten gains here? Is that the play?
I think right here he can basically just get an ad nauseam, right? If he has enough mana, he can just.
Nope. He goes for ill-gotten gains.
He goes for the.
I think
he's just gonna. Yeah, I guess he can Iggy Pop now, basically.
Yeah, I think he has lethal with the ill-gotten gains. So Gerard picks up ill-gotten gains, looks at his graveyard. He's like, all right, sure. Because with ill-gotten gains, he can get back Infernal Tutor too, right?
Yeah.
So he goes ill-gotten gains, returns Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor. Okay. So, or I guess he gets a Dark Ritual here.
Oh, so Cabal Rituals must not be.
So, for those who don't know what Ill-Gotten Gains does, it's black, 2, and each player discards their hand, and then returns 3 cards from their graveyard to their hand, and you exile Ill-Gotten Gains. So basically, it lets Mark reuse the cards that's in his graveyard, get extra Storm on top of everything else, and all under the Xanthid Swarm, Gerard can't do anything.
I mean, Ill-Gotten Gains is one of those cards that he'll have been expecting to be powerful for a long time, and it didn't really get there until Legacy took hold as a format.
Right, there was the Iggy Pop deck for a long time, and the Iggy Pop deck slowly evolved into the Ad Nauseams. I mean, the cool thing about, I think the reason why I probably went for Ill-Gotten Gains here is just because, like, Ad Nauseam, there's a very good chance he's going to win, but you never know what's going to happen with Ad Nauseam, where I think he's got I haven't done the math exactly, but I'm pretty sure he's got a confirmed kill with the Ill-Gotten Gains. I think he could probably build up to 9 Storm easily this turn. Yeah, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor, Tendrils of Agony. That should be more than enough.
He only needs 9 Storm, right?
Yep, only 9 Storm because Gerard is sitting at 18 life. And here goes Infernal Tutor. And this is going to mean Tendrils of Agony.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, as long as he did not sideboard it out. Yep, and there he goes, Tendrils of Agony. Gerard's double checking. Are you sure I can't cast any spells? Yep, you can't cast any spells, and yeah, it's interesting. Like, if you've never seen the cards in Storm, or you're just not that familiar with them, even how they all work together is very strange. As is most combo decks. Same with Dredge, right? You play against Dredge for the first time, and you're like, I don't understand, like, Stinkweed Imp, but
He's played something good?
yeah, but Zented Swarm is a pretty nice little piece there. Mark Tocco was correct to bring that one in. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see just how strong that is against Gerard's deck.
Yeah,
I feel like Gerard kind of drew a hand where that was just what he needed.
Where on the flip side, there are plenty of hands where Gerard could draw words wouldn't be quite as good.
Yeah, Gerard could, draw hymns instead of, just these cards, these blue cards that are so weak against the Xanten Swarm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the third game. I think if Gerard took out some of this creature removal, it'll be back in.
Go ahead. Yeah, so I feel like one of the best parts about Mark's deck here is that Mark's deck has a nut draw that cannot be beaten by anybody. He can kill people on turn 1. He can do it through hate. He can do it through force of wills. Basically, one of the scariest parts about playing against Storm is that the deck is so powerful that you could just lose at any moment, and it's kind of a harrowing experience. Because Gerard's sitting there shuffling up for this game, but he's afraid of playing a Ponder on turn 1 and passing into somebody who just kills him. And having your opponent in that spot is a pretty big advantage. It definitely makes people play a little bit worse. I've found that when I've played offbeat combo decks, people are often a bit shaken when they're playing against me. They're worried about me just having the combo very early. It often makes them play too cautiously and gives me time to actually assemble what I need to. So for the for the draft challenge right now, the semifinal match is a match between 2 Pro Tour champions, Chris Lockman and John Finkel. It's pretty exciting. If this match ends, we're going to try to put that on camera for you guys. It's a really exciting thing for me, for Chris Lockman to be doing this well in the draft challenge. I've always thought of him as one of the best limited players around, and he won a Pro Tour sitting next to me. He is, in my opinion, one of the best Magic players there ever has been. So it's good to see him doing so well. So he's gonna have to, just have to be a big game hunter today. I feel like he can do it though. It's just a John Finkel. There have been scarier things in the past. Alright, now this is game 3, and this is a match for top 8, so this is pretty tense for both of these guys right now. Gerard ships his opener back. Looks like Mark's probably going to keep this hand. I'm not 100% sure though. Now Gerard may wisely be just mulliganing into some aggression or mulliganing into some disruption. Game 1 he got kind of lucky. Mark just had one of those hands that doesn't really do anything. And that's one of the dangers of playing a deck like Storm, is that if you're not willing to mulligan aggressively, sometimes you're just going to get these draws where your deck doesn't really function. The Storm deck on the draw can do some very, very scary things. see how Gerard leads off this game. Now the stifles, while they may seem good in this match, if Mark actually wants to go off and Gerard has any number of real cards in his hand, Mark can easily just ad nauseum into, some extra copies of discard spells and just duress the cards out of Gerard's hand. Gerard, interestingly enough, gets a tropical island here. It's not necessarily the land you'd want to see on turn 1 because, turn 2 him is such a powerful play in this matchup. But, he could have a turn 2 Sylvan Library or something like that and be wanting to have Stifle mana up right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see his opponent crack this land here. But
yeah, looks like he's got that Dark Confidant, which is going to do a lot of work for him.
Yeah, he's probably going to want to play a Lotus, and no, I'm going to be surprised if Gerard doesn't Stifle here.
Yeah, Gerard stifles. And that's rough.
Yeah.
Stifled a good effect, not only just stopping the storm mechanic, but just destroying Mark's land.
Interestingly enough, Gerard is actually missing his second land as well.
Stifle's a very versatile card. Jamie Johnson points out on Twitter that you can actually stifle Vantage Storm's trigger.
Yes, that's true.
So in the last game, Gerard had opportunity to stifle the Vantage Storm trigger and opted not to, and then Mark went off. So it's good for keep that in mind. I wonder if he realizes that for this game.
Well, had he done that, then when he was duressed, the other blue card would have been taken, and
Right.
he would not have been able to force anyway.
Right.
So it wouldn't have made a difference, but you're right, he should have stifled that
Yeah.
effect.
Well, I mean, it's just good to keep in mind for this matchup in general. It could be very important. All right, so Mark spends a Lotus Petal to Thoughtseize Gerard. And Spell Pierce, what was that? That's the one Spell Pierce in the sideboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one Spell Pierce for Gerard comes down.
Nice. And Mark's down to very few cards here.
Yeah, Gerard moves over to the check. Looks like 4 cards for Mark.
Gerard's thinking to himself, hey, I mean, it doesn't seem too bad when you're both on 3 cards. Mark's deck needs a lot of gas to cook, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like a duress here from Mark. So he's not going to be free from that hand disruption after all. Stifle's getting taken. It's the only available option. The other two are
Goyf
two
and a
Tombstalkers
pair of
Tarmogoyf.
Tombstalkers.
Yeah.
These Tombstalkers look very poor right now. I believe Gerard drew into at least one of them.
Yeah.
Let's see what he drew into now.
So Mark trying to give the line of play. It looks like Gerard drew a land, so we'll get one of the 2 black sources he needs for his Tombstalkers and drop down a Tarmogoyf.
And I mean, Tarmogoyf's a beater. We saw it in the first game. You know, if Mark can't put together a combo, Gerard's just going to kill him with Tarmogoyfs, and it's only going to take a couple of turns.
Well,
so.
and one more land, and Gerard could potentially just cast a Tombstalker, and that'll really add to the clock. Mark, of course, I mean, he obviously has a lot of experience with this deck, I think, to have gone so far into the tournament with it, and he's just trying to figure out when is the correct time to go off. It can go off with as little as 1 land. I'm looking at his hand right now.
I think he's ready.
He's got, his hand is looking pretty primed to go off.
Yeah.
But I think he might be missing a ritual effect.
I believe that's
I mean,
2 LEDs and a DR, right? Like.
And he has an Infernal Tutor ready to go too. So yeah, he can go Dark Ritual, Lands I Diamond, respond to the or Infernal Tutor, respond, crack both diamonds. Yep, and he's going for it. So we're gonna see what happens. Yeah. Storm count 1. Gerard has Force in his hand, but I think he doesn't have a blue card to accommodate it. So it's not gonna do a lot for him. All right, Mark opts to Dark Ritual. So spell number 2, and Mark has 3 black in his mana pool. Looks over, counts Mark's hand. Mark has 3 black. Plays that, so that's 3 spells and 3 black in Mark's mana pool.
This is looking pretty scary.
Yeah, and that Infernal Tutor is, yep. There's Infernal
And this
Tutor.
is just terrifying when...
Response, use both those. Now, the ill-gotten gains will be in Mark's graveyard, so we cannot go for the ill-gotten gains route at all during this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to ad nauseum here, though. He has enough life where he can just use that
Right.
as a resource and just win the game.
He can ad nauseum. Just if it turns out that he needs to Infernal Tutor for ill-gotten gains or something, it's not going to work, but...
Should be 7 mana left.
Should be able to just Infernal Tutor for Tendrils. Yeah, so he has
gonna,
7 mana
spend
left over.
5 on this ad nauseum right here.
And
leave him with 2 black mana.
Yeah, with 18 minutes left to play with, it seems like pretty good odds for Mark here.
Yeah.
And now he knows that Gerard doesn't have a way to counter it. He does have the Force in his hand, but doesn't do anything else without another blue card. Those Tomb Stalkers not changing color anytime soon. Gerard is like...
He rubs his hand together.
Always
and
oh man, Gerard.
starts shuffling the deck.
He's like, all right, all expensive ones right here at the top. That's what Gerard's hoping for.
He needs his opponent to flip into. Oh man, he already discarded a lot of the expensive spells.
Yeah,
It's kind of bad for Gerard at this point.
There's another ad nauseum, I suppose.
That's about it.
All right, so here we go. Dark Confidant for 2.
That's a pretty good one to flip.
Doesn't help that much. Crystal Vein, Duress, Tropical Island, Brainstorm, Dark Confidant. Not a lot of fast mana here. Fluted Delta, Cabal Ritual. That's what Mark was looking for.
That's what he needs.
Fluted Delta, Ponder takes 1. Tendrils. Now Mark is down to 5. At this point, any flip could theoretically kill him from the second ad nauseum. So now, like with ad nauseum, when you cast it, you can generally just be like, flip, 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 flip. But then as soon as you're at 5, you have to start thinking, all right, do I still have to continue here? Because there's just that chance you could lose. But he keeps going. Land, land, land.
Ad nauseum.
Brainstorm.
Oh.
Now he's down to 4, but I think he's got rid of all his forecasting cards in his deck.
Yeah, no 4s left. So.
All right, Ponder. Now he's on 3. He's looking for a ritual, I think.
He needs one.
takes the island and now pauses to think. What's it gonna be? He thinks about it. Down to 2. Did Gerard shuffle exactly the way Mark wanted him to?
Oh my goodness, this is tight.
Oh man, or did Gerard shuffle the way he wanted it to, or did Mark? Or is Mark gonna play himself out of this one? 2 life left to play with. What's on top of the deck? He's working through the math.
Oh, there's
Can
gonna
he
be an
kill
Infernal
him?
Tutor there. I feel it.
He's counting up a storm count to see.
Maybe Cabal Ritual. So he really just needs like a DR on the top of his deck, or an LED, right? Hey, LED's not even good enough.
No, LED isn't good enough because he doesn't want to discard his hand here. He needs Chromox really badly.
Yeah, that would be the perfect card. That's what he needs, like, viciously.
Yeah. 2 life.
Oh, man.
Is he gonna go for it? He's doing the math. He's trying to figure it out. Can I?
Come on. Just flip an Infernal Tutor and die. Do it.
You're not biased here.
I know it.
Oh, there it is, the Chromox. That's exactly what he was looking for.
Oh, man, that's a little biased. I apologize. I love it.
All right. Oh, there's Chromox.
Oh, man. I feel like somebody just hit me.
All right, and that Chromox is pretty good for Mark here. I don't think he can afford to flip anymore. I think he just has to take that. I
you can't really get much
here.
better than that, but
I mean,
I don't know if it's good enough.
So he played 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. Yeah, he just keeps them. So his storm count is currently, is it 5 right now? Let's see, Infernal Tutor, Ad Nauseum, 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds, and a Dark Ritual, correct? So yeah, storm count is currently 5. And I think he can get to 9 pretty easily. He can go Chromox, imprint a blue card, play a blue card, Cabal Ritual, and then I think Dark Confidant, Tendrils of Agony. So he plays a land. Make sure he's doing the math correctly. He does not want to mess this up. Alright, sweet. Moves all the lands out of the way. It's like, these aren't doing anything for me. Gerard, a man, you said you wanted to be as interactive as possible. Mark, a deck that wants to be as least as interactive as possible. Okay, so here comes Chromox.
Actually, Mark's version is actually pretty interactive. You know, he's not silencing his opponent, and he's actually like thought-seizing and duressing them.
Yeah, it's totally true. So he puts Ponder under Chromox.
And then he has Xanted Swarms and Confidants. He's definitely interacting.
So Chromox is spell number 6. 7, 8. Yeah, he has it, I think, if he goes Brainstorm, Cabal Ritual.
Oh, he can't Cabal Ritual.
Doesn't he have 2 mana floating still? No, because he has to add nauseam with 2 mana floating, right? You paid 1 land, went Dark Ritual to 3, played Infernal Tutor, went down to 1, and then cracked 2 LEDs to go up to 7, and then played Ad Nauseam with 2 mana floating.
Okay.
So yeah, there he goes. Cabal Ritual. Yeah, Cabal Ritual, and I think that should be it.
Yeah.
Mark is finishing up the math. He brainstorms to add another spell to the storm count. Draws 3, another Chromox on Infernal Tutor. Brainstorm's going to put 2 lands back on top. Those aren't doing him any good. And probably, I mean, he can make some more storm, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think that's 9.
Yeah, I believe that's 9.
Gerard peeked one last time.
The Tombstalkers.
And the pair of Tombstalkers. Pair of 5s, as it were. Not doing a lot. And Gerard picks up his cards.
Oh, that's a shame.
Mark,
I think Gerard really wanted to do well. You know, it was the first event in New Jersey. This is great news for Mark Tocco, though.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
This is, all right, I'm going to...
I like seeing ad nauseam decks.
Yeah, so we have at least one ad nauseam deck in the top 8. It's unclear